There we Okay. So today we have a different type of session, and it will be called Are You There? In a moment, I will do a brief talk to you about an episode that occurred in the recent past. And then we will have another that will come through to explain this further, and also to take you through a brief exercise that you may practice yourself. Following that, I will return and we will conduct the healing list of names, and then I will open to questions. You may ask any question you like, but the question I would prefer would be about our topic either today or previous weeks, but that is up to you. If you have a question, please let the host Mirabai know that you have the question, and either she can ask it for you or will come to you and you may ask the question yourself. There'll be further questions next week as well. And again, you may ask what you prefer to get answered next week. So let us start. A little while ago, a gentleman came and asked a question and said, "What is the nature of reality?" Now, of course, this is a rather deep and involved question, or potentially. And as I said, in a little while, one is going to come to help you to answer this question for yourself. But the question really is into two parts. What is true nature and what is reality? It is the true nature part that we're going to look at soon. Reality is down to a definition and will also be in part answered soon. The conclusion from this could be everything is one, everything is connected, nothing exists, but that in part is a deeper journey that you must go on. But by giving you an exercise for you to discover it, then this is far different for you having an answer from us. You can discover this for yourself, and I would hope you would understand it for yourself following the exercise that is to occur. But over the last few months, I have been guiding people almost to this very answer, touching the very essence of themselves. And what does that truly mean? But let's not waste time talking. Let's get right to the point, and I will invite another to come and speak to you in their style and their way. I'm sure you'd agree that what's normal within life is that you're born one minute, you live 80 years, and you die the next, and that's kind of the way life goes, isn't it? But what happens in between that time is the important process, isn't it? What you learn, what you discover, what you experience, how you get to know the truth of yourself. The actual spinning of the earth is kind of inconsequential to this exercise. And I'm sure you would all like to sit and tune in and find out what's beyond death and what spirit's like and all that stuff. And maybe you want me to describe it to you, but I think it's more important that you deal with where you are now and in doing so, discover for yourself what the truth of you really is. So I'm going to begin with a brief explanation, and then I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things you can try yourself and discover a little bit, I suppose. If I said to you, "Are you there?" Well, I'm sure most of you, in fact, all of you, would say, "Well, yes, I am here." Very difficult to disagree with, isn't it? You can't say, "I am not here," because that really don't make any sense. So you are here, but who is it that's here, or what is it that's here, is a very different type of question. I'm going to imagine a situation, and I want you to be with me on this journey for a bit so you can kind of get a comprehension of it. So imagine I asked you and I said, have a photo of when you were 5. Have a look at that photo. And then have a look at another photo of when you were 10. Another one when you were 20. And then another photo of, well, whatever age you are now. But you got these photos all in front of you and you have a look at them and I think you'll be able to see right away. You look very different, don't you? The physical body at 5 and at 20 is two very different things, although there's something the same about them, isn't there? See, what's important here is to realise what you're looking at, this photo, is not you, is it? You're looking at a change in your physical body. And what you're seeing is not really the truth of who you are. You ain't this body that changes all of a sudden, because if I said you're going to lose half your body or your arm or your leg, well, would you still be there? And of course you are there. And you recognise let's say your arm is there 1 minute and it's gone the next. But you know it's there and you know it's not there. So if you look at these 4 photos of your different ages, you can see that there's been a change only in the physicalness of you, but there's something that connects it all together. And if I got a random photo and said to you, well, this is a photo of you, let us say 5 days after you've died, and you're lying there on the mortician slab, is that you or not you? What would you answer? What would you say? And the truth of all that you can say is, well, that was me. But even those words, when you say that was, well, that's kind of saying that's not who you are, is it? You're something else. You ain't the body that lives and you ain't the body that dies and decomposes. You're much more. But what about if you looked in the mirror? Picture the scene again. If you look in the mirror and you say, I am male, and then somehow we manage to change it and say, you've got a female body, or vice versa. Do you feel like it's you that's still looking through one body and then another? Doesn't this say to you, then the physical shape that you're possessing for a while is not the true part of you? There's more than that. And if you can accept that you can look down on your body, sitting or lying there on the slab, and you say, that was, but I am not that, then you are more. And of course, this is a rather simple little exercise, isn't it? It's not difficult. But what is it that's more than the physical body? You see, when you look at these random set of photos, the only thing you can be really sure of is that you can actually look at them. The consciousness looks, the essence of you looks outwards. And so if it's looking outwards and looking at this body that you possess for 80 years, well, where is your attention? You see, if you go to the science people, they say, well, let's study objects, what's out there, but all of their work has to be in the study of what they can study, the object. But what is it that looks at the object? What is it that's not the body, that's not the object, that's not the body that falls over, that's something else? And if you say, well, that's my spirit, that's my soul, that's my consciousness, well, if that's true for you, is it true for your next door neighbour? are they also not the body, not the object, and are the soul or the consciousness that looks? So here we start to now touch on what's your true nature, what's the essence of you, what's that little bit of something that's inside? What is it that's there? And the stripping away of all this body stuff is all the process of understanding one's true self. And we're going to have a look at that next year when we look at the removal of the body and all that means. But if you look at this in terms of you and your neighbour and say, I am much more than the physical and I am not the object I look at, then you can't be anything that you perceive. So what you can gather in your consciousness, what you can focus on, all those little objecty type things, they ain't you. So you ain't the body, you ain't the mountain out there or the tree. But if you can perceive your mind and the way the mind works and the thoughts, then you can't be that either. If you perceive the changes in life, the seasons, either your bodily seasons or the seasons of the earth, well, you ain't that, are you? If you can perceive your moods or your illnesses, well, that's not you too. You are the watcher of all these things, the one that looks out through the eyes, not the eyes. Do you have eyes or do you use the eyes to see? So the very nature of you is not physical at all. And the nature of your neighbour, your friend, they ain't physical either. And so by looking at a simple exercise of a few photos, then if you look at it truly from the perceptive eyes that kind of conclude what's happening, well, they're all just objects. And you are the subject, the looker, the observer, the watcher. And there are deeper things we could talk about with that and all. But if you're looking out into the earth and you see everything that goes on and maybe somebody gives you a compliment or an insult, then that's not who you are either. So the important part in this is to find your reality, not what happens before and after death. This very moment, this you're looking at photographs kind of points out to you what will happen before and after birth and death. If you can look down on a photo of your once body and say, that was me, then you have survived your death, haven't you? You've gone past it and you've become whatever is past it. So you can touch the very essence of your soul, the very touch of it. Maybe not its total depth and total understanding, but you can get a comprehension of it. So the truth is, if I ask you a question, are you there? Well, and you can't dispute you are there, then the truth of you is more than the physicality, the object, the passing seasons or your moods or illnesses. You ain't them. So your nature is beyond the physical life. And the reality then becomes that you ain't flesh and bones and you ain't these objects or moods. You're something that's formless. something that is not dependent on body, something that's not dependent on the life circumstances. Yeah, but don't you get caught up in all life's issues? Don't you get caught up in, you've got this and you've lost that, and you want this and you can't find that? But this is really looking in the wrong position, isn't it? It's looking where's obvious, but not looking at what is true. Why study objects when you could just understand yourself? Why study things when you don't even know what's looking at them? So, as many people have always said, who am I? What am I? Who is it that's here? Are you willing to look? Are you willing to discover? Are you willing to learn and say, well, this is the truth? You see, you're the one that witnesses it all. This is your truth. I know we've told you this many times. And many times you've gone, yeah, I get it. I understand that. But how many times have you, the very next minute, been drawn into something that's all related to what you are not thinking it's going to make you bigger and better? Going to avoid the pain if you don't do that, or you'll get more pleasure if you do, or something. Well, why live that way? Why don't you just come home? Come home and live from your front door looking out. Have you ever wondered why, let's say all of you go to the movies and you watch a big movie on the screen and it's exactly the same movie for all of you, and the very difference in the audience is so marginal according to where you sit. Everybody sees exactly the same thing. And yet you see exactly the same thing in the movie theatre. And when you walk outside, you describe it different. Why? Why you see exactly the same, and one says it's this and one says it's that? You see, that tells you, doesn't it? It tells you that the consciousness watches. It watches through your moods or your knowledge or your understanding, but it sees exactly the same scene for all people. The only difference is those little bit of fuzzy bits which are in between. Your likes, your dislikes. But everything else is the same. So what is real then is the connection to one's own ability to watch. The fuzziness is what you should try to shift to one side, see through, understand a little bit, but then what's on out of there, it kind of don't matter. So the work you're doing is not to study the play, is to see what's in the way of the purity of the play. What's in the way of you seeing everything in its truth? So really, then the nature of reality, if you want to get right back to that question, is everybody is connected. There is only one consciousness that looks through all eyes and experiences life, but has the fuzzy bits that are in the way, and they're the bits that we cleanse up, or you cleanse up, I should say. The role of your 80 years on this spinning planet in the middle of nowhere is really just to be free. To be free from the bits which you think you are, but you're not. To be free from the problems you think you have, but you haven't. The issues you carry on your shoulders, but you don't even have shoulders. The more you believe in your problems, the more you absorb yourself in them, the more you think you are them. How often can you just sit and watch? Sit, feel your own peace, and just watch. And this steps you away from those fuzzy bits, the difficult bits which bother your mind and hinder your body and seem to be in the way of where you're going, what you're heading towards, or what your dreams are. Why don't you find that little bit first? Why don't you sit with yourself first? And the nature of you then is ever free, unencumbered, has no difficulties, no pains, no problems, and you ain't the body. How many more times do we need to tell you until you actually believe it? And you say you believe it, but what's the point in saying it and then 5 minutes later go out and be affected by it? When are you going to come home? When are you going to live from your truth? When are you going to pick freedom rather than pain? And if you can accept the 4 photographs plus the deceased photograph, if you can accept that exercise, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you living from that truth that you're not the arms and legs that you see? The change in hair colour, the extra couple of wrinkles you're going to get. You either live as the body, saying, I know I'm not it, but in truth, you haven't totally accepted it. Or you live from the true position, truth of you. So he said you can't find spirit on earth. You can find yourself, find your own truth by just looking at photographs and putting your attention in the right position, looking at there. Isn't that true sense of you far more content than the physical body and the play of life that you endure? But no doubt we will have to tell you again, because you say you believe it, but do you really? So are you there or not? God bless you all. Hey, ta-ra. So the very nature of reality is not based on what you look at, but is based on where you look from. If you are caught in the physical world, you discover or believe you discover the nature of reality in things. But if you step back, you discover the nature of reality is subject, not object. It is what looks through the eyes, listens through the ears, not what is perceived out there. So let us go to the healing list of names and then questions if you have any. May I have the healing list now, please?
Yes. Eduardo, Claudio, Stephanie, Linda, Joe, Cynthia, Robert, Marissa, Kathleen and Ann, Amanda Thompson, Alex Moore, Danielle, Amanda Kay, Helen, Eric, Stephen and Matthew, Katie and Jill, Peter, the Jacobic family, Andrea, C. Megan, Marianne and Jody, Mirabai, Tina, Mark, Georgia, Sarah, Sharon, Bill, Nicole, Noah and Jody, Marty Youngman, Gail Murphy, Brian Stern, Wendy Lund, Ted, Joe, Jesse, Tabitha, Courtney, Teresa, Tyrion, Andrew, Sammy K, and Violet T. Thank you.
So Mirabai, do we have any questions? Or don't forget your own questions if you have some. Would anybody like to ask?
I don't see any yet. Anybody have anything?
Well, perhaps if there's questions which are brewing within people's minds, they can conclude them for next week. And we can get to that and answer them for them then. So if you have questions, you are more than welcome to bring them along. So let us continue with our understanding of this very nature of self. It is at the core of one's true understanding of yourself, of course, but not just of the understanding of you, but it explains also the unity and the connectedness of all people, and not just people in the humankind, but all creatures and all objects that one views. If you look at the external world, and let us say you see a tree. What is occurring when one is seeing a tree is one is looking into the world, sees the leaves and the branches. But that image is actually on the inside of you. Is not on the outside at all. One sees the image of a tree because of the signals that goes through the mind and into the brain, and the brain then rationalizes and calculates and decides, perhaps from memory, exactly what this object is, a tree in this case. So what you see is in fact internal to you and not external. Your consciousness is reaching out and encompassing the tree or any object that it sees. So one is truly looking inwards when one is experiencing the world. You're looking at the images in your mind in some position, and your mind calculates what they are. So all that you see is internal the way it is seen. It is within the conscious space. How can anything exist if there is not consciousness to view it? So one then absorbs all that is within it. And one looks at it and calculates it, but then tries to project it outwards to validate this message. Now, I've explained this many times to people, but I want to explain it to you in terms of your challenges you face in life, not trees or mountains, but let us say the challenges that you have. Any trauma or difficulty that you face cannot be outside of you, but inside of you. So let us say you have a difficulty with a friend or a partner or your work. Well, that is the fuzziness that was described about. And the degree that you suffer is in relation to you thinking it is you. And you owning that particular difficulty or problem. That problem is who I am. That problem will hinder who I am or make me better if I take the journey and acquisition, the item. So the degree that you suffer in all situations is how much you hold on to the problem that you see rather than being separate from it. As described, you are not what you perceive, therefore you are not the problem. But if you think you are, then you are. As was said, if you think you are the body, then you will live that way. If you think you are the trauma, the difficult decision, the step that you must take, does that not lead to your suffering that you have? Your mind needs to be clear. The fuzziness needs to be seen through. The position understood. And one's journey of a spiritual life then truly begins from this point. That is not the end of it, that is the beginning of it. Have you not, in your spiritual expression, said all these words? I am not that. But have you truly grasped that what you are? Could you live a moment, a day, by being in comprehension of the viewer and not the viewed, the subject and not the object, the one that looks and not what is looked at? And if you can find this position, and as was said, it's not so difficult. If you can find that position, then surely you are free from the play that is projected within your mind. The truth of our spiritual journey is to go beyond the physical world, beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the heart's needing experiences, to what is beyond all of that. And it perhaps sounds like a complex journey that you must take. It is not so complex. In fact, it's rather simple. And the simplicity can be summed up in, are you there? And if you are truly there through all of these passing problems and difficulties, the seasons he mentioned, through the changes of your body, through the changes of your mind and your mood, and the changes of your, let's say, your financial status, of your career, of your relationships and friendships. Are you there through all of that? And are you there when the body decides to fall away from you? In the exercise, I look into the photos, you said that you were. So there, that simple question, are you there, points to the realization or the nature of reality. Of course, in other discussions, we may use different terminology. But are you there to your life? Are you there? Or do you get lost in your mind? Lost in the play? Do you sip your coffee just once and you realize you've drank it and never remembered it? You travel to work and not know how you get there. You're not even there to the journey. So one's true practice is being fully here. Here to the way you breathe, to the breeze on your face, to the touch of your clothes, to the greenness of the grass and the wetness of the water. Are you there to that? You see, the nature of spirit is right in the very touch of your skin to the pen that you hold, to the taste in your mouth and the breeze on your face. That is where the nature of spirit is found. It's often said it's too complex, too difficult. How can I ever find that truth? But you miss it maybe 1,000,000 times a day. Maybe that sounds like an exaggeration, 1,000,000 times. I assure you it is not. The nature of spirit is in the way the air goes in and out of your nostril. The way the heart is in the speech. The way your fingertips touch the cheek of one that you love. So the nature of you is often said it's in the achievement and the accomplishment, the journey. But what journey is there when it's right in the touch of your skin against your partner's face? Is there not beauty in times like that? Is there not joy and happiness at times like that? It's only when you add something to that touch and say, it is wrong, or I should not be doing this, or I should be somewhere else. And you add then to the beautiful experience, the pain that is full of dissatisfaction. So bring yourself to here. Ask the question to yourself. Am I here? The answer can only ever be yes. But you see that your mind is at times caught and not centered, scattered and not focused. But underneath all of that, you are there. Underneath all of the physical life is your non-physical essence. Underneath all of that pain is the beauty. Underneath tomorrow and yesterday is the presence of self. You say you want spirit, and yet you have it a million times each day. You say you want love, and yet you focus on pain. You want truth, and yet you are caught in illusion. You want us to give to you, and you say you do not perceive us. Or rub your finger against your thumb and be there for that, and that is where we are. We are only ever present, never lost, never unfound. Don't look at the play. Answer the question, and you'll find what you are truly looking for. So bring your questions next week on any matter that you want. Until then, God bless you all.
God bless you, Ignatius. God bless everyone.